Welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, where two friends come together to discuss all things hockey and where everyone's opinion is appreciated. Please welcome your hosts, Merrick Zemp and Collin Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, Season 3, Episode 24. My name is Merrick Zemp, and with me, as always, my buddy Collin Simpson. How are you doing tonight, Simps?
Doing good.
So here we go. We're through round one. The greatest team ever assembled is still playing, obviously, the Edmonton Oilers. Still crushing it, doing their standard, run through the LA Kings. But there's a lot of other teams here, Simps. Why don't we go through just some surprises, if there is any, and maybe, just touch base on all the series and kind of see what we think is going to happen and maybe make a few predictions.
Sounds good. Like you kind of spoke about, I think we should maybe start where we left off in the last podcast. We were kind of breaking down the Edmonton Vegas Golden Knights series. Vegas was able to get through against Minnesota despite Minnesota putting up a good battle, but they did end up winning it in 6 games. Vegas won kind of like we had talked about, probably on the depth. That was just a little too much for Minnesota. So now they're going to come up against the Oilers. Both teams finished their series in 6, so no real extra rest time really for either one. I can't remember. Did they play each other last year?
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Okay.
2 years ago. Yeah, last year, Vegas lost to Dallas in the first round.
That's right. But teams that are familiar with each other, obviously they play each other quite a bit in the regular season. They're always battling each other for first place in the division. So they're used to getting into some good affairs. I think it'll be another great one. How do you see it playing out?
Well, the thing is, like with this one, Connor McDavid, as soon as they kind of made it through LA, he kind of said, we owe Vegas a good series. So, they recall 2 years ago, and realistically, 2 years ago, Edmonton probably wasn't ready to get to the finals. I mean, they lost, so obviously they weren't, but they didn't have quite the team I think they have this year. And I think they kind of were riding Draisaitl and McDavid that year. I think Draisaitl got 4 goals in the first game, like all of that kind of stuff of the series. And then they ran out of steam. They cornered them. They did what they needed to do to stop them, and that was all they had. So I think they're ready to come up and put a big fight in this one, and to make sure that Vegas and everybody else knows that they're the better team now than they were at that point. So I think it's going to be amazing. I think Edmonton's got the jam to do it, so I would definitely pick them to move forward. But I think it's going to be a heck of a series. It's going to be tough. They're going to be, I think, pretty bitter rivals by the end of this. I think you're going to see Frederick, Kane, Perry. I think those guys are going to be integral in how much physicality is going on with this.
Yeah, I think you named quite a few players I think that could have an impact, but I don't think they're going to be the keys to the series at all. I think the keys to the series are going to be 2 things. One, as we always speak about with the Oilers, is the power play, so special teams.
Yeah.
Can Vegas at least keep them down to something human in the 20% range? And then the second one is, and will be the rest of the way to the end of these playoffs, Calvin Pickard, right? I don't care what these other guys do. I don't care if they get in and get a couple extra points here and there. If Calvin Pickard isn't playing the way he did in Series 1 and he plays the way he's played most of his career, and Skinner doesn't come in, like, in order for Skinner to come in, you're pretty much down 2 games. So, my opinion, Calvin Pickard plays amazing. They got a great chance. I think if he goes back to what everybody would consider what Calvin Pickard is to be, I think the Oilers could be in tough without getting like a 35-40% power play.
Just a decent backup, that type of thing. If he's not better than that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what'll trigger Skinner coming back. I think that there is a spot in which he is going to be back in these playoffs. I think they're expecting that as well. Now, I don't know if that means Pickard has to necessarily lose 2, or does he just have to look bad or tired or whatever, right? He played 4 games in a row. The last game, there's probably at least one that he would have liked to have had. I mean, I think the other ones were reasonable goals, but at least one that he probably would have said, I should have had that one. But not out of his depth yet. So what does that mean? At what point do you think, okay, you know what? He's done enough games. Is it game 5, game 6? Are they winning, but he just needs a break? Skinner comes in, steals the show, keeps going. I don't know. I mean, you look at it last year. They brought Pickard in game 5 and game 4 and game 5 against Vancouver, and then went back to Skinner and followed the rest of the way. And he played every minute after that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they need stellar goaltending, like you said, but I also think that there was some issues on the other side with Aiden Hill. He was having some issues in the Vegas and Minnesota series, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what that looks like, because that could be the story as well if he's not on point either. I don't know. Either we're headed towards some 6-5 hockey games, or maybe it's a blowout if one of these two goalies really doesn't stand up.
Well, yeah, true. But Aiden did finish up like a 930, 940 to close out Minnesota. So it's not like he's coming in off of a bad game by any means. Yeah, I honestly believe, yeah, you could make a case for like tired. Pickard's not used to playing that many games in a row, and that's how the coach will have to play it up, because I don't think you pull Pickard after one loss. I think if you do that, that just looks bad on the coaching, and that you just don't have any faith. You'd have to explain it and be like, oh, yeah, we're just going with Skinner due to the fact. But I think if you lose 2 in a row, they'd pull him. Or I think they'd, in one in a row, the only way I'd see 1 in a row is if that one could put you down like 3-1. You know what I mean? Could stretch it. So it's not going to be in the first couple games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do see a reason for, obviously, it's different when it's a starter. When a starter's plays 6 games in a row, like a Hellebuck or something like that, you don't really go away from him until you see him have a bad game due to fatigue. And you don't see a ton of fatigue from these guys, because these guys used to play 60 games, and now a lot of these good goalies only play like 45. There's so much 1A, 1B stuff now that they don't play as many.
Yep.
So, but a guy like Pickard, who only plays like 20 a whole season, all of a sudden has played his 20 in the regular season, has played about 4 or 5 more than he's used to playing.
Yeah.
So you could see a bit of fatigue come in from what he's used to, not versus what he can do, though. And that's, I guess, the difference. I don't think, these guys not coming into the camp out of shape. They just happen to only play 20. Doesn't mean they're not capable of playing 40, so he should be fine, in my opinion, riding this a bit longer. But Yep, so it should be a good series.
They'll have 4 or 5 days off here. They won on Thursday. They'll play on Tuesday, so that's a pretty good amount of time to just have some light practices, kind of keep your feet moving, all that kind of stuff, but not be exhausted for sure. So in the end, what's your call? Vegas, Edmonton?
This one's tough for me. I don't think I ever give Vegas enough credit usually either, even though they do well. Like I know they're good.
You say that because you hate everyone.
No, it drives me nuts that they just went from expansion team to just good. And it just didn't make sense to me, right?
We lived through the San Jose Sharks era, the Ottawa Senators era.
It bothers me.
Each
year I see it going, well, okay, no, it must have been lucky. No. And then you say, okay, never mind. They don't need luck. They've got tax breaks. So every free agent goes there. So then you're like, okay, now you can build a good team. And then they're consistent every year. They're right at the top.
Yeah.
So I think this is the year for McDavid and Draisaitl. I think it kind of has to be the year for them, other than them just next year saying, if they don't get it this year, sell every draft pick you possibly have over the next 4 years and jam in a stud defenseman and a stud goalie, because to waste the McDavid Draisaitl years would be one of the biggest GM mess ups of all time.
They have to win.
So I'm gonna go Edmonton in 6.
Okay. Well, that's what I was gonna say, but now I gotta change it. You know what? I think Edmonton's gonna come into this series, and I was leaning towards 6, where they, that kind of thing. But I'm gonna go even more now. I'm gonna say Edmonton's gonna go in 5. I think they're gonna steamroll, and I think they're tired of it. They want to just eliminate Vegas and absolutely put them on their back and be done with them. So I think they're going to come out hard. I think they're going to get ready, and they're going to absolutely go right through them. So I'm going to go Edmonton in 5. Okay. So write that down.
Moving on to the other West. What do we got here?
We got Winnipeg and Dallas. Now, I just want to touch base real quick on round 1 for these two teams, because I watched both of these Game 7s because, I'm not necessarily a fan. I do cheer for the Canadian teams, but both of these Game 7s, the third periods and all that stuff were amazing. Obviously, a huge game by Mikko Rantanen for Dallas. A hat trick and an assist in the third period to put them up 4-2 and to beat Colorado in Game 7. Just crazy. A lot of heartbreak there, I think, for Colorado. You really wonder about when you talk about what the GMs have to do. The fact that they traded him, obviously traded him to the other side, trying to get rid of him and not see him, and then to find him in the first round anyway. But, was there really that big of a difference where that they couldn't have signed him, that they couldn't have whatever? I believe he is sixth all time for points per game in the playoffs, or maybe sixth active, but I think it's sixth all time. It's a guy you didn't want to lose. So seeing him step up, they're down 2-0 in the third period, step up and get 4 points in the third period to win this series for him was pretty amazing. Heartbreaking for Colorado, obviously, but I think that personally, I had Colorado. I was pretty excited. My pick was coming true with a 2-0 win or 2-0 lead going into the third period, but obviously that didn't work out.
Nope. Unfortunately, Simpson was right again, and Dallas was the correct pick.
You go with the favorite. You're going to start talking.
Exactly how I played it out, too. I said, what's going to happen? Mackenzie Blackwood cannot outduel Ottinger, and then you look at that final game, and it's a 930 versus like an 880. The fact is, that's the way it's going to always play out. Colorado's going to have the talent, and yes, at any given time, if Colorado starts executing. Now, I get the Rantanen thing. Obviously, that's going to be the biggest storyline over the next 3 or 4 days. It's just going to be the talk about how did they screw up? They let Rantanen go. Rantanen came back and bit him in the ass and blah, blah, blah. But in all fairness, it wasn't that. Rantanen was not a beast that game. The scoreline does not show that. He went for a wraparound that was going to go about 8 feet wide of the net, hits a
wasn't
skate,
even close,
goes in the net, and then an empty net goal. So we're not talking hat trick. We're talking a goal at the end of the day for anything he did. Now, they all count. I get that. But the storyline is going to be like
wait. You're totally discounting his second assist on the power play goal.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They're going to talk like he put the team on the back, and he just didn't. He hasn't been good since he left Colorado. I don't think Colorado made a mistake by not paying him Draisaitl type money. That's just the way it is. Like, you can't keep these teams. Now, what's going to happen is they got a decent player back, and they're also going to have a bunch of cap space, and they're a team that can get free agents.
Well, that's a huge place
that people want to go to. So cap space means more to teams like that than it does means team like my team. Getting tons of cap space, $20 million we had. We didn't have any major players trying to knock on our door. So Colorado can move on from a guy like Rantanen who was trying to get overpaid. What they do is they make sure they keep as a culture what they're going to pay their stars, and we don't get any guys in who try to get more money in these contracts. They're going to realize where they stand below McKinnon, and they're going to build a team on their superstar. So without a doubt, it was a great series, though. We knew it was going to be good. It was going to be a coin flip, let's be honest. And Dallas, just a little more depth and better goaltending is through.
Yep. And then in the other one, we saw Winnipeg and St. Louis go to double overtime. Winnipeg tied the game with 1.6 seconds left to send it into overtime, and then scored the winner about halfway through second overtime to move on to the next round. So pretty amazing trip there for Winnipeg, and really just a finish to a game that was incredible. And it was back and forth, both overtimes. I think the ice was definitely tilted in Winnipeg's favor, but it was definitely chances at both ends. It was definitely nerve-wracking, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think St. Louis is a little hard done by from that game. I feel like, in the sense that Winnipeg, I thought was going to make this series really easily. I feel like St. Louis did a great job battling in every game they played. They played some great games at home. They got themselves so close. They were up by a couple of goals. You know, anytime you get scored on with a couple seconds left, partially luck, partially mental errors just from the end of a game, I guess. And then in overtime, I felt like Winnipeg did control more of the play, but I did feel like St. Louis almost was the more likely team to score because it was these counters I was watching happening from their youthful team, right? Winnipeg looked tired. Obviously, losing Morrissey in the beginning and Pionk playing 45 minutes like an absolute beast, but you could see the play happening where Winnipeg could control the play for a bit, but then the breakouts from St. Louis were just so fast. I'm like, is it going to be one of these plays where Winnipeg gets 4 chances to score, and then all of a sudden Robert Thomas or somebody's going the other direction, and it's a 2-on-1 and it's over?
What's it? One shot, right?
But thankfully, I no offense to St. Louis, I couldn't care less if you got through. But so thankfully, our Canadian team got through.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna be in some trouble against Dallas.
They're gonna have to play a better game.
I think a lot of people picked Winnipeg to do well this year. I think the fact that you scraped by St. Louis, I think the fact that Connor Hellebuck is not playing like himself, and I feel like the fact that, depending what happens with Morrissey, they look like a bit more of a tired team. And I think Dallas is going to come, and they're going to. I could see even like a in 5 for Dallas in this one.
Well, Hellebuck has been good at home and bad on the road, so we'll see if that continues. He let in a couple early tonight, I think, and then another one. But after that, he found his game. He made a lot of good saves, was in really good position, really looked good after probably the second period. And so we'll see if that's kind of a refresher for him, if that fires him up again. Good news is for Winnipeg that both teams are coming in off of Game 7, so it's not, nobody had a week to heal up or anything else. As far as I know, what do they got? They've got Robertson is out and Heiskanen is still out. So maybe they're going to be around second round. We'll see what happens with Morrissey. I believe Scheifele was out tonight, but he's supposed to be back, I think, next round. So we'll see. Yeah, we've got a forward and a defenseman on both teams. So depending on who gets who back, that might make a big difference in this series. I would like to say that Winnipeg's still going to be competitive, but if they don't get the guys back, I think they're in more trouble than Dallas doesn't. So if you see Scheifele and Morrissey back Game 1 and nobody for Dallas, I think I'm going to lean towards Winnipeg in 7. If you don't see those guys, I think it's going to be real tough. I think you're probably looking Dallas in 6 or Dallas in 7 still. Get them there, but they're not going to have the jam. They're not going to – if they play a really good defensive game in this one, they can capture it. If they get this happens, like you said, with some special teams things, like, you get the right games or whatever, I think they can win a few. But, yeah, without a couple other players, I think it's going to be real tough for them to win the series. So I'm going to say Winnipeg in 7.
Yeah, and that's pretty fitting because it's, in my opinion, it's two teams that are needing to win it now. I feel like both of them have a bunch of players that are nearing the end of their runs, coming out of their primes, and I think both of them need to go for this year. So it'd be kind of fitting if it was a Game 7 to see which one goes on.
Well, and I think we really got to see if you get Vezina Trophy winning Connor Hellebuck, I think the duel is there and it's going. If you get Mackenzie Blackwood version of Connor Hellebuck, then yeah, this could definitely go a lot sooner. So, but I think that'll be a good series. So let's switch it over to the other side. Let's stick with the Canadian teams. And since the last time, Toronto closed out Ottawa 4-2, and they moved on to the second round for just the second time in, I don't know, a couple of decades. So really good. Unfortunately, as a prize for getting to the second round, what do you get? You get the defending champions that look even more tough than they did before in Florida Panthers.
Yep, that's not exactly a great draw for you. I don't know if there is a super one out of the East, but I think I would easily take one of the other two teams for sure if I had a choice. Obviously, teams like Florida, I guess the one thing you got going for you is it's in sports, it's one of the hardest things in the world is to repeat, which usually means most of the defending champions get knocked out. So statistically, there's a great chance you get to be that team. But it also means they could have made it to the final. I think Toronto, they had a much harder series out of Ottawa than I was expecting. I think the talent level is just still too big a gap between the two teams. The experience, Ottawa hasn't been in there much either. So you got their star players like Kachuk and Stützle and that haven't quite got the experience to battle through. Toronto still looked worrisome at times.
Yeah.
Florida looked stronger than I expected them out of their series. I was expecting Tampa Bay to put up more of a fight. I thought Florida, going through the long season last year, maybe get that hangover, a little extra hockey they've had to play. Kachuk took some injuries. Some key players went to the Four Nations, etc.
Injuries, suspensions. You had a lot of stuff there.
I think good coaching there though as well. Like as much as we talk about the players, I think the coaching knows how to deal with his players correctly and how to play the right hockey and which lines to play and how much to play them. And I think that makes them a very, very, very difficult team to beat. So I'm gonna say though, I'm gonna take Toronto.
Toronto.
Yes,
Nice.
I think it's now. This is another now or then never for teams. Like I don't think.
Say it. Say the line. This is their year.
It has to be though, doesn't it? Like even if they don't win it. I think this is the year they got to at least be able to show they can get to the final. And this is, so I'm almost having them pass a couple times, but I think they beat Florida. I think it's going to be tough to beat them. I think they have the home ice, if I'm correct.
Yep. Yeah, they won the division.
Yeah, so then I'm gonna go. Actually, I'm gonna go in 6. I'm just thinking about 7, but I feel like it's gonna go to the 6. They're gonna be in Florida, and they're gonna close out in Florida, and they're gonna do it because they're not in front of their home fans. They don't have that same pressure of anything like that. They have a game, that pressure of like, oh no, being at home and losing, going and blowing it when they should be closing out. I think they'll do better to close out a series there. So I'll take Toronto 4-2.
Wow. It's a tough one to go against them, and I kind of agree with you. I think they've assembled a better team than they have in the past. I think their defense is better. I think they've done a lot of things. The first round scares me. I mean, it was 3 games in overtime, so I mean that's a big swing. You know what I mean? That could have been 3-1 Ottawa after after their days at home. So there's a bit of a challenge there for that, but I think so too. I think you're going to see them step up a little more. I think you're going to see some more Pacioretty, more Tavares, more those guys as well. And I think you're going to finally see Martyrs and Matthew really deliver and have a hell of a series. So I'm going to go Toronto in 7. I think they're going to have to bring it home, and I think it's they're going to actually win in Florida. I think they're going to go down 3-2, and they're going to win in Florida to keep it going. And that momentum is going to carry them at home, knowing that they can beat Florida at home. So I think that's going to be the series. So it's going to be Toronto in 7 for me.
Yeah, and I think actually playing Florida is actually a bonus to Toronto in the sense of they're not the favorites, right? So many times in all these series for the last 2 or 3 years, they always are like favorites to win the cup because they have these great first, like massive regular seasons. Yeah, okay, they lose to the Bruins all the time, stuff like that, but you still are thinking that this is the team that's going to go the way. They dominate the regular season. Well, this is a series that they're not coming into as the favorites. So there's a little less pressure on them. And I think that's going to help.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. So there's only one left. Washington and Carolina. So Washington, obviously, both series went 5 games, so both were pretty dominant in their first round. Washington handled Montreal. As we discussed prior, Montreal put up a good fight. We're happy to be there. Their kids showed some offense. They did a few things, but a couple of overtime games, some good stuff, but definitely they were the weaker team, and Washington looked, decent. Not amazing. They didn't crush them, but they won. And then on the other side, you've got Carolina, who beat Jersey. We were pretty low on Jersey. We weren't that concerned about them. We didn't think too much of them. So for that one, they cruise through, same thing, 5 games. So now we've got Washington, Carolina. What are you picturing for this one?
Well, like you said, unfortunately, the first round gives us no indication on any help on who to pick on this round. Obviously, you can't tell me like, well, Washington's really killing it. They knocked out some great team. They're looking great. Carolina's doing the same thing. Well, they both beat teams they should have handily beaten. So we don't know if they're playing their best hockey or not. That's really hard to tell. Obviously, Carolina we expect to see in this position almost every year in the last like 5 to 10 years. They've been a really strong team.
Yeah,
Washington
I
was expecting to be done after their cup. I felt like they were gotten old. They were kind of falling off, but then they went and added a bunch of kind of free agents that other teams didn't want anymore, or trades that people didn't want. Getting Chikrin out of nowhere, Mangiapane, just players that were kind of written off by their teams.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Dubois. Like these are guys that people thought were
Thompson,
done.
Right? Logan Thompson.
Yeah, even Thompson.
I think that was
Thompson was just Aiden Hill or Thompson. I think that was a coin flip on that one versus we just don't want him because we don't think he's good enough. But still, these are revitalized players, right? And so I'm a little surprised from them this season, but they did it over the whole season. I don't know. Maybe I feel like it's just Ovi's year. I feel like they kind of feel like the Patriots to me this year and it just feels like that type of not Cinderella.
Yeah, they shouldn't really be here anymore. Well, last year I think they tied on the last day of the season to get in the playoffs. They were like minus 60 or something for goals differential and stuff last year to made the playoffs, and they weren't a good team. They didn't do well, and these additions have really changed where they're pointed, where they're at. I mean, they got another year with Ovi. Maybe it sounds like maybe you retire after next year and head back to Russia. But I don't think anybody expected this. But it's also, I mean, you got Protus came out of nowhere and got like 36 goals, and you got like all of these guys. I mean, it's like they just got fired up for the chase, and then everybody just kept going. Like, but again, you're right. I don't. When somebody comes out of nowhere, they never win. It never happens. Nobody. It's like you gotta earn it. There's just the Cinderella story that comes out of nowhere. They always lose in the finals.
Well,
Going way back,
Carolina.
they were good back then.
Oh no,
No, but I mean, it was Carolina, Washington that year. No, not Carolina, Washington. It was like Washington, Detroit. Well, Washington shouldn't have been there, and Detroit beat them. And like Carolina won when I don't even remember who they played now.
But like the Cam Ward year was not a year that they were supposed to go far.
Oh, that was the year they played the Oilers.
Yeah.
So the Oilers weren't supposed to get there. There's another one after that or before that.
Correct.
But yeah, like when they played the Oilers weren't supposed to get there.
No.
So they were the heavily favored. The Minnesota North Stars way back when. Quite often those teams that do get there, they aren't expected. But I find also the President's Trophy challenging teams that haven't had that kind of season before. Your Boston Bruins a couple years ago, Tampa Bay Lightning a couple years before that. Like the difference is these guys were good a few years ago, so there's a little more history there. But I don't know how many guys are still around from that.
And the fact is, though, they did it for a whole season.
Yeah, but lots of guys do.
They didn't just squeak it in. Like I think they're built for the playoffs too. Though I think
that's a big difference.
Some of the guys I've named, like so, we're not even talking about Tom Wilson. Even a guy like Mangiapane, he's like 4'7", but he used to be one of the hardest working Flames we had. So like they built a team around like that. I felt like that's how they beat Montreal. Yep. I don't think they beat them with talent. Now Carolina is a strong team, but I just wonder if without Rantanen, and who did they trade for Rantanen to start? What was the player? I can't think of his name right
Netcash.
Netcash. So you're out Netcash and Rantanen. If you've got those guys, maybe I favor Carolina a little more.
But they did get Stankoven.
Yeah, like he's a good player. He's a young player, so he's not 4 years proven. He's not exactly proven like Rantanen.
Or Netcash, really.
So in that scenario, I don't see Svechnikov in his prime still. Like I know he's an age-wise. I don't see them lighting the show up like they used to, Ahos and stuff like that. I don't think they have the team. If they would have kept those other guys, like even just keeping Rantanen, I'm more inclined to pick Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But in this scenario,
just for having a stud, having somebody to be out there,
I'm going to go Washington in 6.
I think this one. I think Washington is not going to be able to do it, and I think the depth of Carolina with all these different guys and everything else. I think Washington's going to run around a bit. I think they're going to throw a lot of bodies and everything else, but they're going to get a lot of penalties too. And so I'm going to go Carolina in 6. So I think this will be where the rubber meets the road, Simps. One of us is going to be right. Or close to it, maybe.
Well, were we on? No, you went Winnipeg in the other one.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I went Winnipeg in 7. Yeah, so I'm going to be right all over the place. I got every Canadian team moving forward and Carolina. Yeah, I think I got not every underdog, but yeah, we'll see.
It should be a good second round, though. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully it's as exciting as the first round was.
Oh, man. Like, this is one of the better ones in years. All the Canadian content that we've got, as well as just really good games, really good series, lots of good stories. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch. So pretty amazing. I think it's one that we'll be able to look back on and remember this was a pretty good year for sure. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys. We'll make sure we keep getting at you guys and getting the content in front of you to make sure you guys get all the updates and all the insider information that we have, whatever limited amount that is. And we'll make sure you keep bringing that to you guys every day and every second day, I guess. We'll try to get them all the Oilers ones for sure. Simpson's a bit of a tough one to track down sometimes. He gets pretty distraught watching those Oilers win over and over.
Yeah, it's kind of tough when you're not watching your Flames.
I can't imagine being more distraught than having to watch Flames games all the time, but fair enough. So I want to thank you guys. Welcome to the Sports Buds Hockey Podcast. And you can always find us at sportsbuds.com. That's sportsbudz.com. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Google, all of those things, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube as well. So, don't forget, click on those, subscribe, let us know you're there, and really point out anything you think we're doing different. This has been a lot of talk about our picks and what we think. We're going to post some samples of these so you guys can see what we've got and see who we're picking. Let us know if we're right. Let us know if we're wrong. So I'm sure that somebody's going to disagree with us, especially Simpson and all his, anti-Canadian picking. But we'll see what happens. So I want to thank you guys again, and Simps, I want to thank you for a great topic and a great talk tonight.
Yeah, it's been a great, a lot of fun doing this one. Glad we got our picks in for the second round. Everyone out there, let us know what you guys have as well, and we can see who's doing the best.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simps. Talk to you soon.
Buddy. Bye.